on lesson 2.1 in your textbook. Yesterday we started it. You had to read over it for a few minutes. We didn't have a lot of time to start because of the partner quiz that we had to finish. You should be turned to page 43. Page 43. 43. If your mouth was closed and you were listening, I wouldn't have to continually repeat myself. We talked about you making your own tape diagrams yesterday. That's going to take up too much time, so I created a recording sheet. Miss Williams is coming around to give you that recording sheet. We're on page 43. In Investigation 1, you used fraction strips as a tool to determine the fraction of each fundraising goal reached and locate points and distances on a number line. You also used ratios to compare quantities and check to see if they were equivalent. In this investigation, you will continue to explore ratios and ways to write equivalent ratios. The ratio statements in Investigation 1 were written as for every or two statements. Ratios can be written in many different ways. Suppose the cost of 10 students to go on a field trip is $120. You can write the ratio to show how these quantities are related. On the back of your reporting sheet is where you are taking these notes. So the ratio is $120 to 10 students. Now, to begin with, you're going to want to write dollars and students, some form of notation that you know money is on top and students are on bottom, because that's the order that you'll keep it in. When you're trying to write something equivalent, you will not switch and put students on top if you've already written money on top. So usually, whenever we're solving for unit rates, solving them as a proportion, cross, multiply, and divide is usually how you would do it. After you have some knowledge of algebra and solving for a missing variable, a letter, if you would cross multiply and come up with a variable in your equation. Because you haven't gotten that far, you're going to be expected to solve your unit rate by just making equivalent fractions. And so we're going to be making equivalent fractions to solve for your unit rate. So if I had the ratio, the unit rate would be, if it is going to cost $120 for 10 students, then how much is it going to cost for one student? You need the definition for your unit rate. It's a ratio where the second number is 1. So I'm solving for one thing. Here it says per person. So we're going to look at the unit rate today as if, okay, if it costs $120 for 10 students to go, then how much does it cost per person? How much does it cost for one? Thank you, darling. So they're expecting you not to cross multiply and divide and solve for this missing x. They're expecting you to be able to take this fraction and make a fraction equal to it with 1 on the bottom. The way you're going to do that is you're going to say, okay, I know what was done to 10 to get 1. What do you do to 10 to get 1? Divided by 10. Any number divided by itself is 1. 10 will go into 10 one time. So if you know what you did to the bottom number to get 1, what you do to the bottom, you also have to do the same thing to the top. So what is 120 divided by 10?
12.
12. So it's going to cost $12 for one student. So that's how you're going to solve for a unit rate. Because you know what's done to the bottom number to make it 1, you divide it by itself. Then whatever that was you divided by, you do the same thing to the top, and that's going to solve per person or for every 1 unit. Now, unit rate is something that you're going to find very useful when you get to be an adult, a consumer, a shopper. It's going to allow you to be able to find your better deals and your best buys. If this was $120 for a pack of 10 that I might buy at BJ's or Sam's or Costco, some bulk warehouse, then I know that I'm paying $12 for every item in there. But off to the side, I might be able to buy that one thing for $10.50, and it might be cheaper to buy it one at a time than it is to buy it in a bulk of 10. Usually that's not how it goes. Usually you're going to get a cheaper rate if you buy in a bulk of bigger. But I'm just saying, if you can find out how much you're paying for each one, then you can make the better decision. Is it better to buy it singly, or is it better to buy it in a package? So that's how you will be using unit rates as you get older and start spending your own money. We need to turn to page 44 now. Page right. 2.1 is about equal shares. Leave it here, you'll probably be back. Often we share food so that each person gets the same amount. This may mean that food is cut into smaller pieces. Think about how to share a gummy worm that is already marked in equal sized pieces. The gummy worm below shows 4 equal segments. On page 45 is where your problem starts today. And instead of asking you to create your own tape diagrams like yesterday, it was going to take too long. So we're going to do your own tape diagram. It's already written out for you. You just have to divide it into the sections that I divided in. If you look at A number 1, you have 2 tapes drawn because A1 asks you for 2 different ways. So it asks you to show 2 ways that 4 people can share a 6-segment gummy worm. In each case, how many segments does each person get? So, how many segments are we going to break this diagram into? 6. It says that we have 6 segments that we're sharing with 4 different people. So we're breaking 6 whole things and we're dividing it into 4 equal pieces. So I'm going to make 6 segments. So in this first tape under A1, you're going to break it into 6 segments. That means you make 5 marks. And that's going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces. So 1A says I have 6 equal pieces and I'm breaking it up. I'm dividing it equally into 4 groups. So you're going to take each whole segment and you're going to break each into 4. So you're going to make 3 marks in each segment. Because that's going to break it into 4 equal pieces. So you should have each segment broken into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. We're on A1. What we have done is we have broken this whole gummy worm up into 4. These pieces are 4. Each person gets 6 fourths. So what you're going to do is shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those fourths. Then that's going to show us how much each person gets. Each person, that's our unit rate. They get 1 whole segment and 2/4 or 1/2 of the next segment. So there where it says on the bottom of that tape diagram how much, they get 1.5 segments. Now, could I have known that before I started creating a tape diagram? 6 divided by 4, 6 divided by 4, top divided by bottom. 4 will go into 6 one time. That's 1 2/4. And that 2/4 reduces. 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 reduces to 1/2. So yes, I would have known if I had done my division first that every one was going to get 1.5 segments. Now again, that's 4 people. So person 2 would have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would have been their segment and a half. Person 3 would have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would have been their segment and a half. And then person number 4, because remember it said we are having 6 segments, we're breaking 4, we're sharing with 4 people. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would have been the 4th person's segment and a half. So each person gets 6/4, 1.5 segments. Any idea how we can show 6/4, how much each person gets a different way? Christopher? Say it again. Sure. Can 6/4 be reduced? Six and 4 even or odd? Even. So I can reduce it by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now instead of breaking it into fourths, what can I break it into? Halves into. So on that second strip, to show it the second way, you're going to break that second strip up into 6 pieces. And this time, instead of breaking each piece into fourths, we're going to break each piece in half. Now, if you understand, when I color that first one 1.5, that each person is getting 1.5 segments, you don't have to go and color in everybody's piece. I I do that for those students that don't understand what that answer of 1.5 means. But if I do that first one and you understand that each person is getting that much, that is your unit rate, then you don't have to color everybody's piece. But if going back, looking over your notes, you're not going to understand what that answer says, then you need to go ahead and quickly color it in. Yes. No, you need to be right here where I am. Then you need to ask for another one. So now that we've reduced it, just as everyone got 6 pieces of the fourth, they got 6 fourth pieces, everybody's going to get 3 of the half pieces when we reduced it. So that person here is going to get 1, 2, 3 of the half pieces, and she's still getting 1.5 segments. The same thing. Person number 2 is still going to get 1, 2, 3 of the half pieces. That's their 1.5 pieces. Person number 3 is going to get 1, 2, 3 of the half pieces. That's their 1.5 segments. And then the last person, the fourth person, gets 1, 2, 3 of the half pieces, and that's their 1.5 pieces. So still the answer is the same, it's just a second way of showing. We reduced the 6 segments broken evenly into 4 pieces to 3 segments broken evenly into half. Just as A1 asked for 2 different ways, A2 also asked for 2 different ways. So A2 has 2 strips also. Now, reading A2 showed 2 ways that 6 people can share 8 segment gummy worm, and then how many segments does each person get? How would I have known just by looking at the fraction I made that each person was going to get more than 1 whole segment? Is it a regular fraction or an improper fraction? It's an improper fraction. So knowing that it's an improper fraction, I know that it's going to be turned back into a mixed number. A mixed number has a whole number in its answer. So I knew just by looking at this that it was an improper fraction, that each person was getting more than 1 whole segment. This time we have an 8 segment that we are breaking into or sharing with 6 people. Is each person going to get more than 1 whole segment in this one? Yes, because it too is an improper fraction. So I know that they're going to get more than 1. They might not get more than 2, but they're going to get more than 1 whole piece. We have to break each of these tape diagrams into 8 segments because we're sharing it with 6 people. Now, to break this in 8 segments, I have to make 7 lines. Yes, Patrick?
So, because the fraction is 86, so because the 8 is on top of the 6, and it's higher, so that means that it's going to be more, right?
That means when you turn it back to a proper fraction, it's going to have a whole number on it. You're going to get more than 1 whole segment.
Yes, it's around more.
Yes. So we're breaking it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 marks breaks it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So this is A2. Now again, we have an 8 segment that we're sharing with 6 people. So how many marks are we making in here? We're breaking it into 6 pieces, so we make 5 marks. Guys, that used to be an EOG question for 6th grade. It wasn't the Common Core EOG, it was just the Standard Course of Study one, but you had a piece of French bread, how many cuts did I have to make to have 6 pieces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that end piece falls off as your last piece, that 6th piece. So you always make one less mark than the pieces you need. So if I wanted 9 pieces, how many marks did I make?
8.
If I wanted 10 pieces, how many marks did I make?
9.
9. It's always one less. So if I'm breaking every one of these segments into 6, how many marks am I making?
5.
5. So you're going to go in each of your segments and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be very quick, and it needs to be very quick because we have to move. See, that didn't take long at all. Move through it. Make 8 blocks and 5 marks in each of your 8 blocks. I bet you're very handsome with that hat on. Uh-oh. Hey, Jeremiah. You can come back and visit later, Jeremiah.
Hey, Miss Keisha.
So, how many 6, now that we've broken this whole gummy worm into 6, how many 6 does each person get? 8. They get 8 6. So person 1 is getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They get this whole piece. And 2 of the next 6, and 2 6 reduces to what? 1/3. So these 2 would be 1/3, these 2 would be 1/3, and these 2 would be the third. So they get 1 and 1/3 pieces. 1 whole piece and 2 of the next 6. And if we went down and colored 8 of these 6 times, it would take up the whole gummy worm. So under this one where it says how much, each person gets 1 and 1/3 segments of a gummy worm. Now it said to show it a second way. Can 8 6 be reduced? Yes, by 2. And if I reduce it, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I can show this one in thirds. I could have gotten my 1 and 1/3 answer by going 8 divided by 6. 6 will go into 8 one time with 1 and 2 of the next 6. 1 and 2 6. 1 and 2 6, which reduces to 1/3. So I could have gotten that answer by just doing my division. But the second way we're going to show it is breaking now each of our 8 pieces into 3. How many marks am I making? 2. So I'm going in each segment and I'm breaking it into thirds. Yes. Now, put 3 marks in each of your 8 segments. Now, your top number, how many thirds does each person get? 4. So we're going in and saying 1, 2, 3, 4. That's their one whole segment, and 1 out of the next 1, 2, 3. 1 out of the next 3. So they get 1 1/3 segments. It's the same amount here. It shows you it's the same amount. It just wanted a second way to show the same thing. Now, if I went in with my different colors and I colored 4 of those thirds each time, it would take up 6 sections of thirds, and it would show you how much 1 1/3 that each person of those 6 people would have gotten. They would have gotten 1 whole segment and 1/3 of the next segment. Each per person. I'm going to wait just a second and let some of you catch up. Then we're going to start with B. B did not ask for 2 ways, but we're going to do 2 ways on your one tape diagram. It never hurts to look at something more than one way, even if it asks you for one way. B says show how 12 people can share an 8-segment gummy worm. How many segments each person gets. Now, I know for me that I still have to have 8 segments. So you're going to divide that one tape diagram into 8 pieces. Now, if we're sharing this, we've got 8 whole pieces that we're sharing with 12 people. Are we getting a whole piece now? No, because this is not an improper fraction. It can't reduce to a mixed number. I don't even have a whole piece of a gummy worm now, a whole segment. I'm going to have just part of a whole segment. That's what a fraction is. It's part of a whole. To have a whole segment, I'd have to have 12 12. To have more than a whole, I would have to have 13 12, 14 12, 15 12. That top number would have to be more than the bottom. Here it's not. But if I'm going to break all of these 8 pieces into 12 parts, how many marks do I have to make?
8 times 12.
11. It's always one less than what it said. So you're going to take each one of these segments and put 11 marks in it. If you don't want to do that, but for just the first few, that's okay. It'll save you some time. But if you're one that's going to have to see it broken completely up, then you need to do that. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you were just going to do that the whole way down because you're breaking it into 12 pieces. And I'm doing it like this, like a ruler, because it is so many marks, and it would take so much more time to make the full marks down the whole thing. I'm just ticking the bottom like a ruler, because again, I'm going to show you a second way, and I'm going to do that across the top. it's not even going to be a whole piece. Remember, the whole piece would be 12, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is all right here that person's going to get. That much of one whole piece. That's it. Yes. 11 oh, this number 2?
Yeah.
You break it into 6 pieces, so it's got 5 in each box. And again, the reason I didn't color it all the way up is I'm going to show you a second way on the top of this diagram because it only asks you for one way. So, can 8/12 be reduced? Yes, by 4. 4 will go into 8. 2 times 4 will go into 12. 3 times. So I'm going to break it into thirds on the top. How many marks is that? 2. So if I broke them into thirds, each person would get 2 of those thirds. So that's going to be 1, 2 of the 3, which is again the very same amount as the 8/12. And I could do that all the way down, and you could see all 12 people getting 2/3 of a piece, all the way down. Those of you just coming in, you need your worksheet. We're on B2. This one was B1, B2. B2 says, show how 5 people can share a 3-segment shoe. How many segments? 3. We have 3 segments. How many people are sharing it? 5. So when we break this one apart, does our people get one whole gummy, one whole segment? No, because this is not an improper fraction. This is just part of the whole. For them to get a whole segment, they would have had to have 5 fifths or more than 5 fifths. 6 fifths, 7 fifths, 8 fifths. It had to be improper if they were going to get more than that one piece. Here, they're just getting part of that whole piece. So we are breaking it into 3 segments, sharing it with 5 people. So we're going to break it into thirds. And we're breaking each one of those 3 into fifths, which means how many lines we got to make? 4. Each one of these people get 3 of those fifths. 1, 2, 3. That would be person 2. 1, 2, 3. That would be person 3. 1, 2, 3. That would be person 4. 1, 2, 3. That would be person 5. That would be what each person gets to share that gummy worm with 5 people. They get 3/5 of a segment. So underneath there where it says how much, if it does, they get 3/5 of a segment. Now tonight, if you have to go online to the plan book, and you have to pull this video up, and you have to get the worksheet out, and you have to follow through and do it all over again to understand it more slowly, it's there for you. The textbook pages are there, the worksheet is there, the video is there. If you need to take time over the weekend or a holiday to go back and re-watch slower to understand it, then that's a resource that you have.
Isn't it on your website?
Yes, it's in the plan book on the website. Now going to C, we're going to do it on the smartboard because it's going to allow you to see the tape diagram that's in your book up here and for you to see exactly what's going on with Jenna and her tape diagram. So everyone should be caught up, and we should be at section C. Okay. Right now we're looking at Jenna's tape diagram that's right here in your textbook, and it says Jenna wants to share a 6-segment chewy fruit worm. The tape diagram below shows the marks that she made on the worm so that she can share it equally among her members of her CMP group. One wants to know how many people are in her group. So when we go up here and we look at what she's done, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. What's the smallest amount she broke it into? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So to me it kind of looks like she had this, 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, and so she knew that each one of her 4 members was going to get a whole segment. But she knew she had 2 left over and that her 4 members could not get another whole segment. So she started breaking the leftovers into 4 pieces because she knew that each member could get one of these 4ths and one of these 4ths. So let's say I took the other pieces and I broke them into 4. Who? Not by itself. Those packets that are behind my calendar on that rack to the left, to the right of my desk. Those packets sticking up right there. Send in one of those. So if I'm looking at this and I know that she has 6 whole segments that I broke into 4, what does that look like we just did? What does that look like we just did? A1. A1 was a 6-segment gummy that we broke into 4s. How much did each person get? They got 1 whole segment and a half. So that means that they would have gotten 6 of the 4s. They would have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, one of these 5, and one of these 6. So they would have gotten 1.5 segments. So that would have been person 1. Malaysia, when I need to speak to you, I'll call your name. That's the second 1.5. That's the third 1.5. And that's the fourth 1.5. So how many people do you think are sharing this? 4. 4 people. And that was pretty evident by the colors that they used. Not to mention we just did this whole problem in A1. Apart from that, is there more than one possible answer to this one?
Yes.
How do you know?
Divide it.
If I wanted to serve 8 people, how much do they get?
2.
Half of 6, right? If you're doing twice as many, you get half as much. So they're only going to get 1, 2, 3 segments if I do 8 people. You can still feed 8 people. 8 people are just going to get half of what you would have gotten had you been serving 4. I could even serve 6 and break it down into a different amount. I could have broken it into 6 instead of 4 and then figured out how much 6 broken into 6 would be. So they'd all get a whole piece if I was sharing with 6 people. So yes, it can be done more than one way, but again, understand the more people you feed with it, the less you get. It's like pizza. There's 8 slices per pizza. If you and a friend are sharing it, fine. But if you and 5 family members are sharing it, you're running to the kitchen. You're fighting for the plate. Because you know. You've eaten long enough to know. The more people you share something with, the less of it you're going to get. So, that helps you to answer this one. Nope, that's going to be D and E that you have to answer with that one. So what is the number of segments per person? They get 1.5 per person because we understand 4 people with the colors they've chosen are eating off of that gummy worm and are in that CMP group. So what fraction? If 1.5 is the segments they're getting, then this is the fraction that you need to write, the 6/4. So 3, the answer for 3, is the mixed number. It's the 1.5 segments. It asks for the answer in segments. And the last one, write a fraction to show the part that each person gets. They get 6 of those fourths that we broke it into.